Hi, this is Mr. Ng going over Math 5 quiz number 18. That was on chapter 6.1 to 6.2, taken on April 25th, 2018. Multiple choice directions, circle the best answer. Question number 1, given 2 points, x1, y1, and x2, y2, where x1 is not equal to x2, what is the formula for the slope of the line connecting the 2 points? So the key question here is I'm giving you two order pairs, and they're asking you for what is the slope. It's the changes of the y's over the changes of the x's. Notice here this is plus, that would be incorrect. Notice here that these are not consistent. You should have the 2's over the 1's. This one's, the 2's are over the 1's, but you have the change of x over the change of y. That would be incorrect. Question number 2, find the slope of the line that contains the points 10, -1, and -8, 6. So you label your points x1, y1, that's your first order pair. And this is your second order pair, x2, y2. You should have this on your formula sheet, this formula. M slope equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. My y2 value from over here is 6. My y1 value is -1. Now pay attention, I have the subtraction sign in red, and every time you do a substitution you have it in parentheses. x2 value is -8, and your x1 value, which is 10. 6 minus a -1 is 6 plus 1, which is 7. -8 minus 10 is -18, so this is -7 over 18. Now if you, I should have used my graph. The graph was there just to help you if you want to do that visually, so 10, -1, something like over here, and -8, 6. So in this case you can go down 7, and then, so that's -7, and right, positive 18, so that would still give you a negative. Or from this point you can go right 18, down -7, or same thing, you could have gone up 7 and 11, or -18 to the left, so you'll still get a negative. Let's look at some student work. Student labeled this one correctly, two order pairs, and then didn't write down the formula, but they have the correct answer. I like this, they have the formula labeled, and then substitutions, and then simplified. Question number 3 says, multiple choice, the graph below shows the distance in miles, m, hiked from my camp in h hours. So you're going hiking there, and based on the number of hours is dependent, the number of miles you travel is actually dependent on number of hours. So which hourly interval had the greatest rate of change? Greatest rate of change is just another word for average rate of change, which is just slope. Slope on a graph is rise over run, or you can use the equation from the previous problem. So basically what I have here is my slopes. So here I have a rise of, I'm going up 2 miles over 1 hour. So that means my slope is 2. From here to here, I'm distance of each of these boxes is 0.5. So 0.5, and then 0.5, and 0.5. So 1.5 miles over 1 hour, so 1.5 miles per hour. So basically I'm just calculating the slope or the average rate of change. So here I have a rise of 2, and then a run of 2, or sorry, 0.5, 0.5, so that's 1 mile in 1 hour. So each of these boxes is a half hour, so I want to go 2. So here I only go 0.5 over 1 hour, so 0.5 over 1. So of these, which is the greatest? That would be this one right here in this interval, 0 to 1. Question number 4. Move that over. Question number 4, find the quotient and remainder using synthetic division. So I have a polynomial here, 3x to the 4 plus 11x to the 3rd plus 15x squared plus 12x plus 5. Notice this is written in descending order. Descending order means by the exponents. Also notice that there's no missing terms there. Now this one's divided by x plus 2/3. So if you set that equal to 0, you subtract 2/3. I have x equals -2/3. And so when you do synthetic division, you're going to take that x equals value here, and then I'm going to write my coefficient. So my coefficient is 3 there, 11, 15, 12, and 5. So for synthetic division, the first thing you're going to do is just bring it down. Then you're going to multiply -2/3 times 3. There's my work. -2/3 times 3. You're multiplying fractions, so just multiply across, -6/3 or -2. Then you're going to add down, which gives you 9, and then you're going to do -2/3 times 9. 9 is a fraction by 9 over 1. Multiply across, you get -18 over 3, which is -6. And then you add down, that gives you 9, and then you're doing negative 2/3 times 9. Same thing as this one, which gives you negative 6. 12 plus negative 6, you're adding down, positive 6. And then 6 times negative 2/3, 6 over 1, multiply across, so you can cross cancel. Negative 12 over 3, which is negative 4. Then add down, and I have a remainder of 1. So notice how A and D have remainders of 1. But if I look at this, these numbers, 3, 9, 9, 6, 1, is the coefficients, but 1 less than this. So this would be 3x to the third, 9x squared, plus 9x plus 6 with a remainder of 1. The last one is a remainder, so that would be choice D. Question number 5 and question number 6. Questions number 5 and 6 says, write the 0 that corresponds to each factor. So what is a factor? Factor here is x plus 5, and I put that in parentheses in blue. So this is a factor. What do I do with the factor? It tells me to write the 0. So if I set it equal to 0, which I called the 0 product rule, if you set it equal to 0 and solve, you get x equals negative 5. X equals negative 5 is called a 0. So the reason why they call it a 0 is because your x value is negative 5 and your y value is a 0. And if you graph that from the origin, that's left 5, 0. And notice how I have that blue line. So it is, they call these zeros. Anything that touches the x-axis is called a 0. And so that's what you're looking for. Your answer is x equals negative 5. So that one's just 2 points or nothing. Question number 6 says write the factor. So factor, you should be looking for parentheses. That corresponds to each 0. They gave me x equals 2. So here you can subtract 2 to both sides. And the part that got cut off is, then on this side you have x minus 2 equals 0. So here is my factor. This is a 0. That side was 14 points to the back side. Apologize for the bad photocopies. Not sure what happened there. The graph models the amount of money a company makes producing floral displays, a bunch of flowers. What is the maximum number of floral displays that the company can create and continue to increase their profits? Where is this information located on the graph? So there's a couple of questions here. What is the maximum number of floral displays that can create and continue to increase their profits? And then where is this information located? So here, my x-axis is a number of floral displays made. So number of displays, number of flowers. Now think about it. You can't have negative flowers displays. And this is a graph. It has its title, Floral Business Profits. And so the y-axis right here is profits measured in dollars. So here, if you think about my graph, this is negative flower displays. That doesn't make sense. And then here, when I'm actually making displays, I have negative profit. So anything below the x-axis is negative profit. And the reason why is, think about it, you buy a bunch of flowers and you haven't sold them and you spend a lot of money. So you're out money. And then maybe even as you're selling them, you're paying someone to make them, or you're making them yourself, so that's time. And so what's the maximum amount we can make displays that can and continue to increase this? Well, the maximum number of displays, keyword maximum in this graph, is this local maximum here at 6, 26. So I wrote that maximum number of floral displays that the company can create and continue to increase in profit is 6. Now I answer the question, where is this information? This is located on the graph at the local maximum. Remember, this is an order pair, so the x value represents the 6 floral displays. And how much money you get? You're going to get $26 in profit. Okay. If you wrote 6, 26 and no explanation, I gave you 3 points. If maybe you thought 5 displays with an explanation, or 7 displays, which is over here, then I gave you guys 3 points out of 4. Let's look at some work. So here the student just wrote between 3 and 8. So they're looking at the interval of the x values, but it's not an interval. They're looking at one specific point. What is the maximum number? The number, not a bunch of numbers. These are bad copies, and so I gave you guys the numbers there. And then look at this student here, full credit. This one kind of threw it right at the end, located at 6, 26, and then the maximum number is 6. All right, so this problem says determine each quotient using polynomial long division. So I wanted to see a long division. write the dividend as the product of the divisor and quotient plus the remainder. So how many times is x going to 2x to the cubed? You can do a side problem here and simplify that, and you get 2x squared. Now you're going to multiply, and right there you're going to subtract. So 2 minus 2 is 0. Don't write it. -1 minus -4 means the opposite, so that means you get 4 and a -1, which gives you 3x squared. Bring that down, 13x. X goes into 3x squared, 3x times 3x times x gives you 3x squared and -6x, and then you're going to subtract. 3 minus 3 is 0. -13 minus -6, so that's -13 plus 6 gives you -7x. Bring that down, -6. X goes into -7x, -7 times. Take that number, multiply, -7x, positive 14. -7 minus a -7, that becomes plus, so that becomes 0. And then -6 minus 14, so -6 minus 14, they're both negative, so that's a -20 is your remainder. So my dividend is what's inside the division sign is equal to the divisor is what's on the outside. It tells us the product of the quotient, that's what's on top of the division sign, right there, 2x squared plus 3x minus 7, and then the remainder is -20. So here you could have written, actually, this is incorrect, but make sure you have the -20, and then you put it over the divisor, x minus 2. This is supposed to be inside the parentheses. If it was outside, it's just a -20. So either of those would have been full credit. Now, if you wrote just the quotient correctly, meaning this, then I gave you guys only 3 points because it tells you about the product. 2 points if part of your quotient is correct and or maybe your product was incorrect. This problem only got 3 points. Notice how there is no product. This problem right here, full credit, shows all the work. Nice. You can't see the score on this one, but this one's a 3. This 20 right here should have been negative right there, and then they don't show the product. Question number 9 says determine the average rate of change for the given interval for the polynomial function. Average rate of change just basically means slope. This is telling you an interval. This is not the order pair. This is basically saying from this point to on the x value 3.5. Well, it tells you right there. 2, 2.2.333. This is your order pair that you're using. And the second one is at 3.5. You can just go all the way down there, and it's 3.5, -4.79. Label my two order pairs, x2, y2, x1, y1. Write down my formula. Make sure you have that minus sign in red there. Substitutions in parentheses. Now again, if you switch the order pairs, let's say you call this the first order pair and this is the second order pair, that's okay. When you subtract it, you'll actually get the same thing. Slope is equal to -4.75. I actually wanted to show you that if you actually, it doesn't matter how you label the order pairs, like you switched them like I just said, you'll actually get the same slope. So I wanted to show you that. So you got 2 points if you just wrote down the formula and the rest of it's wrong. I gave you 3 points if you wrote that maybe the slope was positive, it's a negative slope. Some nice student work here. Formula, show me average rate of change, box the answer. Alright, so in this problem, I gave this one 2 points because the formula is correct. This is the function notation of average rate of change, which is a fancy way of just saying slope. And here their substitutions are incorrect. They put the x's over the y values, and that's why I have the little x right there. Question number 10, use synthetic division, make sure to explain. Is x minus 3 a factor? Well, I take x minus 3, 0 product rule, set it equal to 0. X is equal to 3, that's what goes out here as your divisor. Those are my coefficients, 1, 12, 17, -30. Bring it down, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. So there's your remainder. Because this remainder is no x minus 3 is not a factor because there's a remainder. If this was equal to 0, then that's a remainder, and basically I've been teaching you all along that's called a factor theorem. If you got the whole problem correct with no explanation, because it says right there, make sure to explain, and it even asks you a question, is it, you got this correct with no explanation, you got 3 points. I gave you 2 points. If you knew that the divisor was 3, but you said same thing, not a factor. 1 point if you use the wrong method. So you could have done this all correctly, but it tells you synthetic division, not long division. Some student work, wrote down the steps, great, but didn't explain. Nice work. Here's the answer to the Ken. If my TAs and I counted up or didn't grade this, just take a picture of it, send us an email, and we'll recount it. Thanks.
Love math.